Hello and welcome to another podcast from the Dominican Dad. Say hi, Dad.
Hi.
I am Tanya and this is...
Mr. G.
Mr. G, Joseph. So for this podcast, we are starting our first book club. And I have just bought my dad a book. Dad, hold the book up so I can read the title. The book is called In the Forests of Freedom, The Fighting Maroons of Dominica by Lennox Honychurch. And I've already read most of this book, but I bought it for my dad so he can learn a bit of his own history. Check it.
Yeah.
And we're going to read a couple of chapters and podcast our review from the chapters. What did you just say to me, Dad, before we started recording? You didn't know Dominica had maroons?
No.
How come?
Because I just didn't know.
But you must have, so you didn't hear of any of the history of the Kalinagos, the maroons living up in the mountains near the Kalinagos, none of that?
Only thing I know is about the French and the English fighting, the wars,
And they fought a few wars, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this book is going to be really interesting for you. I love it. Because as the book says, we hear about the fighting maroons from many of the Caribbean islands and less so about Dominica. But we were up in there. Any comments before you read the book, Dad?
Well, I'll be interested.
Interested to see what?
About the maroon.
Yeah. What do you know about the maroons already?
I don't know nothing about the maroon.
But what do you know what they are?
Well, the English fighting the French.
That's not a maroon.
No, that's not the maroon. No.
What is the maroon?
The maroon is, I don't know, is some sort of native people. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're going to find out. So check back. What is the first? Let me just get the first chapter up. We're going to read the first two chapters, I think, because it's only 8 pages. So the first chapter is called, bear with. The first chapter is called A Lasting Memorial. And the second chapter is An Island Citadel, Understanding the Maroon Landscape. And this links to our first podcast, the Windrush scandal. When I mentioned, my dad's just mentioned the British and the French fighting, the British winning, the French winning, the British winning, the French winning, and why Dominica was one of the hardest places to colonise. So check back on the next episode of Dominican Dad.